thank you to the organization team, especially to the people from GIZ and USAID. It was a long journey to be here. As I told to Mr. Sandeep, we are here with a square jet lag, but okay, we're going to try to share our experience in relation to large integration of renewable energy in India and what it's now happening in Santiago in Chile. Okay, I am an operation manager of a National Electric Coordinator at Chilean ISO, and this is our agenda for this presentation. First of all, we are going to talk about the national electric system in Chile, a brief showing about what are the main electrical system. We have isolated electrical system in Chile yet, and we are interconnecting the grids. At the second point, we're going to talk about the electric market framework, a little bit history and context. And at the kernel of the presentation, we are going to talk about the main challenge of variable renewable energy integration. How can we handle, how we solve the lack of transmission capacity in a specific region of our country, the interconnection of the national electric grid, and ramping control for net load demand as a challenge for the next years. And at the end, final comments. Okay. Let's go with the national electric system in Chile. The National Electric Coordinator, Chilean ISO, it's an independent technical organization in charge of operation, coordinating the electric facilities in the national electric grid. We are responsible for ensuring reliable, efficient operation of the power system and for ensuring open access for the transmission system. Basically, three main objectives: to guarantee, to preserve the security of the grid, to guarantee the most economic way to supply the demand, and to guarantee also the open access to the transmission system. And it has nothing to do with the real capacity of transmission line. All the facilities, large consumers or generators can connect to the grid. The Chilean ISO started up on January 1st this year. The Chilean ISO is the legal continuator of former LOAD Economic Dispatch Center, SIC and SIN. And we have independent board of directors, 5 members, 5 years period, responsible for steering and administrating the organization. Board members elected by a nomination committee in a public instrument and process. So here you have a slide in order to have the real location of Chile in the world. Chile imports most of fossil fuel to produce electricity from international markets. We don't have fossil fuel. We have to import. We only have natural resources, and our country is a long and narrow country with around 4,500 kilometers of coast in the Pacific Ocean, and our main electrical grids has a total length of around 3,100 kilometers, similar distance between the northern and the south part of India. So one of the electrical system is the Northern Interconnected System with an installed capacity of 5,000 megawatt, energy annually generated for 2016 of around 20,000 gigawatt hour. The peak load demand, is 2,500 megawatt. The population 60.3% of the total population, and basically this electrical grid is dedicated to mining and large consumer, 90% of industrial load. In the right side of the slide, you may see the installed capacity in that area and the energy generated mainly based on coal power generation, LNG, and a very small share of wind and solar in this moment. The central interconnected system is the major electric grid in Chile. We have for 2016, almost 17,000 megawatt of installed capacity, and the energy generated is around 54 terawatt hour, and a peak load demand around 8,000 megawatt. The population is 92.2% in this area of Chile, and mainly dedicated to 70% of regulated and final user or customer. In the right side of the slide, you may see the installed capacity and the energy generated. We have almost 40% of installed capacity in hydropower generation, taking into account run-of-the-river and reservoir. And we have also a high share of percentage in coal power generation, LNG, and we are starting with a lot of PV and wind power generation. And it's important to say that we have 45% share of renewable energy if we take into account large hydropower generation. And if we consider the entire country, we have 33% of share of renewable energy, taking into account large hydro for both systems. Okay, and if we joined the both grid, we are talking about 22,000 of installed capacity, 73 terawatt hour annually generation for the last year, a peak load demand of almost 10,500 megawatt, and a population of 17.3 million. And you may see in the right side of the slide, I mean, 26% of hydro and 44% of coal power generation. Okay, let's go with the electricity market framework, historic and context. And here you may see in this slide generation and energy prices historical evolution for the last 15 years in the central interconnected grid. And you may see at the beginning of these 15 years, very low marginal cost with a lot of hydro and natural gas from Argentina. In 2004, 2005, started the curtailment from Argentina. In 2008, we experienced it like a perfect storm because we have a total curtailment from Argentina and very dry condition in that moment, and also very high prices for fuel, for diesel internationally. After that, we had the commissioning of liquid natural gas in the Quintero plant, and from 2010, at the moment, we are under a very dry condition in relation to hydrological power generation. And in this moment, we have an average marginal cost of around $70 per megawatt hour, depending on the hydrological condition in the central interconnected grid. Okay, I know that there is an Argentinian in the room. My friend Flavio is over there. Regards. Okay, so in the next slide, Chilean electricity market historical development. All this situation started in 1982. Before 1982, we have a state-owned model, vertical integration, and in 1982, there was a pioneer electrical law establishing a private model, a liberalization of the generation market. The vertical integration was modified, market introducing with location marginal price from that moment. we are applying marginal cost theory, selling energy at marginal cost and selling capacity at the price of firm power or adequacy power. After that, in 2000, okay, before that, we have some, before 2004 and 2006, we have some amendment of the law, but I think the important amendment was in 2004 and 2006. There was the short law number 1 and the short law number 2. And then number 1, there was open access regulation. It creates the expert panel in order to solve the controversy between the player, between the generation companies and the National Energy Commission, or between the generation or transmission company, between or with the Chilean ISO. And in that short law, there was the first, wink or special attention to small power generation, and established no transmission charge for non-conventional, small project. And the short law number 2, or the second amendment in that period, established a tender distribution company supply to get energy to the distribution company. In 2008, Chile adopted a non-subsidiary model for the integration of renewable. There was a first version introduction of a renewable portfolio standard. 10% by, the target is 10% by 2024. And in 2012 and 2013, there was a second or an increment of renewable portfolio standard to 20% in 2025, and also a net metering law. And in the recent year, the last year, there was a final or the recent amendment of the electrical law. The electrical law is dynamic, is maybe always changing, adjusting to the challenge. And this final amendment established a robust transmission to avoid constraint, charged to the demand, and only one Chilean independent system operator, and also ancillary services market checking before the competitive condition. Okay, the development on non-conventional renewable energy, you have the annual generation in 2008 and the annual generation in 2016. You made the scale up of 5 times in these 8 years. And the compliance of the target, you may see in that slide, that the annual target has been exceeded by project developed under market condition. The tender process for supply energy to distribution companies, introduction to the so-called hourly blocks with a significant impact on bidding process. The idea is the different technology can offer in these different blocks. And obviously the PV power generation bids in the block, in the B block. And regarding this adjustment to the bidding process or tender process, the regulated customer in 2016, 52% of the energy tender was awarded by non-conventional renewable energy. The average price in 2016 was $47.6 per megawatt hour, included a record bid for Chile PV project, $29 per megawatt hour, obviously offering or bidding energy in the Block B. In relation to the international context, you may see that in Chile and Dubai and also Mexico has a kind of a record for PV PPA contract power generation. So in the next slide, you may see the electricity market framework with the authority, with the National Electric Coordinator, the Chilean ISO, the wholesale energy market. Basically, if you are a generator, you may sell your energy to the spot price, to another generation company, or to distribution and large consumer. And the transmission is regulated and competitive and proportionally charged, as I said, to the demand. and the tariff based on tender process for new transmission project. The wholesale marginal cost in the 12 months between May of last year to May in this year, we have, for instance, an average marginal cost in the northern part, $64 per megawatt hour, and in the central interconnected grid, $56 per megawatt hour. This is the transmission sector divided in 3 segments. Okay, I will be a little bit fast in the last slide. Okay, main challenge. Potential renewable energy in Chile obviously is a main challenge. We have more than 1,800 gigawatts of wind, solar, and hydro energy, and probably 2,000 or more for megawatt for geothermal power generation, and 2,000 megawatts for biomass. Challenge of integration renewable. Flexibility is a key word in this situation. We have to pay attention to environmental regulation in relation to thermal power generation, and it's important to pay attention to a storage system, hydro reservoir, pump storage, batteries. We are waiting a large pump storage generation in the northern part of Chile. And we have also paid attention to the demand side response transmission system, thermal power, flexibility, interconnection, regional interconnection. Okay, another challenge is how to handle lack of transmission capacity. In the northern part of our central interconnected grid, 800 kilometers to the north of Santiago, we have a 220 kV system with local demand of 1,000 megawatt and installed capacity of wind and solar of 2,200 megawatt, and a coal power generation 750 megawatt. We call this part of the grid our little Denmark because we have a great amount of wind and solar in relation to the local demand. And in normal operation, it's necessary to order curtailment, and zero marginal costs during day hour. It's a constant, it's the reality. The lack of transmission capacity, we manage establishing an automatic scheme in order to disconnect generation when we lost a circuit, or to fine-tuning or to adjust the renewable energy generation in that part of the grid. Besides despite the fact that we installed this automatic scheme, we also have zero marginal cost in the northern part of this part of the grid. Another challenge is the interconnection of the grids. As you may see, we have to pay attention to coordination because there are 3 main transmission companies participating in this process. We must pay attention to the security condition during the commission of this project, the stability, the reactive power control, the variability of power flows, and so on. Here you may see some flows, some estimation flows for the interconnection grids between the northern and the central and south part of our country. Another challenge, ramping control. You may see what happened with this DAC curve and ramping control that we are waiting for 2021. And for that year, we are estimating to have around 8,000 megawatt of wind and solar power generation. And okay, I have just 1 or 2 minutes for the final comment. The fast integration of renewable energy in Chilean power system is bringing new challenge in order to keep the reliability standard and guarantee an efficient operation. The interconnection between the northern and the central south part of our country will be a valuable support to face this challenge, flexibility from hydro reservoirs that are in the south part of the country, but it could be not enough. We have to think, for instance, in redesign the ancillary services market that is taken into account in the electrical law amendment. National and regional control centers, it's another challenge. System resilience, because in the recent summer we have very strong forest fire, hydrological variability, drought condition prolonged during the last 7 years, climate change, we must pay attention to climate change, integration of a high level of renewable, wind and solar, centralized forecasting, variable renewable energy, and don't forget the situational awareness and national automatic generation control. Okay, that's it. Thank you for your attention. Bye-bye. Thank you.